Cyrus, we're here at the exhibition area at the Durban meeting. A lot of the buzz that's going on in this room and throughout the halls is about the Registrar Accreditation Agreement and the Registry Agreement. What exactly do those mean?
Yeah. This particular conference in Durban, Brad, I think is a very special one because we now are at an inflection point in the life of the new GTLD program. Because we managed to actually get the new RAA and the new Registry agreement approved by the board just before the conference. And that's significant in two folds. Number one is that it enables the contractual framework for the delegation of the new GTLDs. So that's a very, very significant milestone for the whole program that's been in the making really for years. And then the second thing is that the new contracts actually provide a much more improved quality of service and level of standards for the contracted parties, which benefits ultimately the registrants and the end users. So from these two perspectives, we have actually managed to raise the bar on the whole industry as we get into the last mile of delegating utilities.
So we have talked at ICANN forever about, in terms of process, we've always said you have initial evaluation, then you enter into a contracting phase, then you have pre-delegation testing. What I'm hearing you say is these two agreements set up the foundation for that contracting phase. Is that oversimplification?
They are the mechanism for the contracting, which then enable us to actually move into the next phase, which is pre-delegation testing, and a number of other aspects that are involved, and then ultimately the recommendation by ICANN into IANA, which is the last step before the new GTLD going into delegation into the region.
Sarah, you just mentioned that it sets up some provisions that are beneficial to the registrants, the people who want those domain sites, those domain names. What, for instance?
A number of them. That's a very good question. For instance, in the new RAA, there was requirements from the law enforcement agencies in terms of the ability of ICANN and the law enforcement agencies to weed out the bad actors in our industry. So those have been incorporated in complete concert with the registrars. There is also a registrant's benefits and responsibilities document, which we've actually put in plain language, English today, but we'll be translating that into other languages, which sets out, in layman's terms, the rights, benefits, and responsibilities of the registrants. And it's incorporated into the contract. So these are some of the examples of the new things that have been incorporated into our contracts.
It has taken a long time to get these agreements, years. I mean, it's been going on, and the expression that you used to hear in the exhibition area and in the halls at other ICANN meetings was, it's been kicked down the road, it's been kicked down the road. Why was it so difficult to get these two agreements to the finish?
I think the ICANN community, by definition, consists of many, many different aspects of the stakeholders that make up the universe of ICANN. So you have the operators who ultimately become the contracted parties. They have their own goals, ambitions, agendas. You have the law enforcement agencies. You have the policy-making machines of the governments. You have the governments themselves. To actually be able to put all of these different constituencies into the same room and come out with one message is something that just takes time. To build that consensus is a time-consuming thing. And we've managed to do that over the years and really have kicked it up in terms of its speed and its ability to deliver in the last 6 months or so, because the community as a whole really came together and started making compromises, started actually thinking out of the box and resolving some of the open issues, and the result of it is these two agreements that you see today.
What's coming back at you as you go through the halls, as you attend the meetings, as you go here in the exhibition hall? What's coming back at you about these two agreements? Are you getting a lot of why didn't yous, or are you getting a lot of hey, congrats?
The majority of the feedback and responses that we are getting are extremely positive. And the fun part of that is that it's coming from different people, different constituencies, different stakeholders. I had the government of UK stand up when I was actually briefing the GAC the other day, just in support of the RAA. I also had the Registrar stakeholder group stand up and support the RAA. And these are two groups of stakeholders that historically have not always been able to see eye to eye. So the real, one of the less tangible benefits of what's been accomplished in the new RAA is the fact that practically every facet of our stakeholder community is satisfied. And that's something that the community should really be proud of.
Explain to me, I've talked to a few people, and there seems to be at least a minimal amount of confusion as to the role of the Governmental Advisory Committee, the GAC as we call it, and what their role is now in the context of these two agreements having been reached.
The GAC has had an immense amount of input into what ultimately became the RAA. But at this stage, the RAA has been approved by the board. We don't anticipate any additional changes to it. The only changes that might actually go into it would be for us to allow exemptions for people, for operators to adhere to their local laws when it comes to some privacy-related issues. And that has already been anticipated and provided for in the RAA. So I expect it to be smooth sailing from here on in terms of people, including the GAC and law enforcement or even the operators, wanting to come in and provide additional changes or request additional changes into the RAA.
So what has been your mission now? You've got these agreements, so here at the meeting, are you walking around trying to get buy-in, or what's your role now? Are you sitting up at the swimming pool with a nice gin and tonic
I wish I
kicking your
could.
heels up?
No, the work is actually really beginning because, as I said earlier, we now have the contractual framework for people to come in to sign the contract and essentially get into the queue for delegation of new GTLDs. So the work is shifting now from getting the contracts in place to actually making sure that all the, for instance, registrars are aware of the new changes in the RAA. So we're embarking on an outreach campaign to all the registrars on a global basis. We're providing training for them in China, for instance, in August, in Chinese language, because the agreement is written in English, and the Chinese community traditionally has not been as involved in some of these efforts. So we're going out to China for 2 days. We actually have some members of the registrar community that are going with us in conjunction with us providing the training to the Chinese community. We have the same training being done in the United States. We have webinars along the way. We're thinking about how we can provide the same level of training and outreach in places like Africa, Middle East, places that traditionally have not been as involved in the process, to get them into the process and provide the level of information they need so that they can actually participate.
Cyrus, thank you very much.
Thank you, Brad.